Welcome to NC Political Tea, the home for conservative truth with a side of Southern charm. From the hollers of the Blue Ridge Mountains to the sandy shores of the Outer Banks, we've got our finger on the pulse of every political heartbeat in the Tar Heel State. So grab a sweet tea, kick back, and let's dive deep into the 2024 election madness.
Whitewash his errors. It was a misspeak when he said that he had gone to war, that he didn't, in fact, mean to accidentally print the wrong rank on the coins that he distributed, or that he may not have received the final paperwork locking his unit into their upcoming deployment to Iraq before he quit. We believe it is unforgivable to do what Tim Walz did, when, among others, the command sergeant major who replaced him, the mother of one of his unit's fallen soldiers, and the unit's chaplain are calling him a coward. How dare Tim Walz call it simply partisan attacks? And quite frankly, how dare you, the media, dismiss the men and women who actually know Walz's character?
Wow. So that was Pat Harrigan called up there by J.D. Vance to call out Tim Walz. Hello, Margot. I'm Sloan. This is NC Political Tea. Welcome.
Hey, nothing like seeing a Green Beret to start the day.
That's right. What district is Pat? Congressional district?
10. I think it's 10.
Okay.
He's taking Patrick McHenry's seat.
Right. Okay. So he is the nominee. So he's going to Congress, right?
Well, he's got to win, but he's going to win.
Okay. I think it's like a plus 18 district.
Yeah. He actually was in a different district. If you don't remember that story, somebody shot up his house last time he ran. And so this time Patrick McHenry talked him into taking his district because he was going to leave. So he moved over so Tim Moore could have his own district.
Well, they haven't shot up Tim Moore yet. Hopefully they don't.
Everybody's ready for him to get out of the state.
They do not. Okay, so let me show you a little bit about what Pat Harrigan is not the only service member that has been absolutely up in arms in calling what Tim Walz has done stolen valor. Check this out.
24-year veteran of the Army National Guard and a retired command sergeant major. As a retired sergeant major in the Army National Guard out of Minnesota, retired out as command sergeant major.
I spent 24 years in the military, Congressman, as a command sergeant major. I know
Tim Walz is one of those everyday people. Coach to the state champs, teacher of the year, command sergeant major.
I am a retired command sergeant major in the Minnesota National Guard. I am a retired sergeant major in the Army National Guard. What I consider to be the responsibility and the privilege of being the highest ranking enlisted personnel ever to serve in Congress. And
okay, so all of that was a lie.
It's lies. He was not a coach. He was an assistant coach too, just to set the record straight on that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the whole guy's reputation is built on lies. So we know that Kerry got his ass handed to him when he did the Swift voting, or when Bush did his so-called Swift voting. But that's what these Democrats do. They lie about the thing that you sacrosanct. You never lie about your service in the military. If anything, you downgrade it. You don't upgrade and say you've done more than you've done.
Well, as the daughter of a Navy veteran who served 30 years for this country, from rank E1 to 054, somewhere there. I don't know all the numbers, and my sister is a retired colonel in the Air Force. My brother served in Vietnam. That's called stolen valor. And it's really not, it's not looked highly upon. And it's not just John Kerry and this guy. There's Richard Blumenthal, who said he was in Da Nang. That's their MO. They lie about being a veteran. Being a veteran, it doesn't matter if you were in for 1 year or if you were in for 10 years. That's good enough. But you have to lie about your rank and where you were.
Right.
That's just unconscionable.
Right. And it is something that they, it's been done now. I remember when George W. Bush had that brouhaha with Dan Rather that was total BS about him not actually serving or not serving when he did or whatever. And I mean, the country was up in arms until, PJ Media, of course, discovered that it was bunk. But now the Democrats want us to say, oh, okay, there's nothing to see. Also, it looks like Walsh has lied about his DUI. He has repeatedly said, oh, I didn't hear very well, when in fact he was driving, according to court records. CNN had to report this begrudgingly. He was driving 20 miles over the speed limit. He was drunk as a loon and had to be taken home by the state troopers.
And said that he was deaf. He said at the site that he was legally deaf.
Okay, so the guy, his whole professional reputation is built on lies. They clearly did not vet or do not care. They wanted the guy that looks like he could be the human version of Up, Ed Asner, that cartoon, to run as America's dad. He's full of shit, and a lot of us have dads. Very few of us, they're full of it. Most of our dads, we may not, agree with them, but they give us sage advice, whatever. They're not going to embellish on their records. This guy is a joke.
I think this is on purpose. I think they come on. They did a background check on Roy Cooper. They did one on Andy Bashir. They did one on Josh Shapiro. They did one on this guy. And here's what I have to say. Either the people that did that are incompetent, or they let all of this slide because they've gotten away with so much throughout these campaigns. I mean, in the basement, now this, that they think that they're untouchable.
Well, perhaps so, but this is an issue, you guys. I mean, look, we're getting into crunch time, very close to, doing the mail-in ballots, etc.
20 days.
How much?
20 days.
20 days. So we need for you to talk to older neighbors, even people that you don't know very well. They need to know this. They're going to be very pissed off about this. Look, we have a lot of esteem and revere for our veterans of all levels. Like you said, you don't need to lie about it. But the fact that this guy has, it shows you what frankly, a piece of garbage the guy is. We definitely need to get the word out. You're going to notice a serious, maybe even manic tone to me today. We're recording the day that Kamala Harris has been, obviously she was here in Raleigh. You guys have seen it. We had a space earlier on this. We'll talk about this in a second, but I'm impressed upon me how dangerous this ticket is for America.
Oh, it cannot be understated. I mean, just listening to Kamala in her speech, which I'm sure we'll get into in a few minutes, the things that she said that really set off the butt. But let's just talk about the fact that she came here as a counter to, because Trump was in Asheville, right? But and people in Raleigh are mad. Do you know why they're mad? Because they thought it was a rally. And
some counter. Look at this. It looks like a dollhouse. We had the Barbie townhouse. I don't know. We had the Corvette. We had the beauty shop. We had all that. We would be able to set up a little teeny stage, a little teeny people, and have like an event like what you see here. This is so micro. It's not even funny.
There's only 300 people in the room, and they all had to pay for those seats.
Okay, well that's crazy. I guess since we're going to skip ahead and do this, let me play for you because I'm mad. I think a lot of people are mad. I think this is so outrageous what she has said. I mean, we've had in this country, our country for over a century has been the best economic system in the world. Mm-hmm. And now at a time where we really need it most, she wants to trash that system and go to a hybrid of Venezuela, Cuba, and Russia. It's insane. So let's play what she said today. This is probably one of the most outrageous things. Let's just play this.
We've made historic investments in infrastructure, in chips manufacturing, in clean energy. And new numbers this week alone show that inflation is down under 3%.
That's a lie.
And as President of the United States, it will be my intention to build on the foundation of this progress. Still, we know that many Americans don't yet feel that progress in their daily life.
Okay. We've made progress. You guys, American people, you're too stupid to realize it, but we've progressed. Okay. And we're going to build on this. So in other words, I see a steaming hot dumpster fire, but we want to build on that. But wait. You're too stupid to know things are going great.
Well, the fact that she says inflation is at 3%, that's a bold-faced lie. We can absolutely prove that based on the numbers. What they do every month is
3% from what?
Yeah,
You know what I
well,
mean? Like,
they do put out numbers that say it's 3%, and then they go back in the middle of the month, in the middle of the night, revise it, and we're at 7.5% or so. You know, the impact of families is basically a net loss of $700 to $1,000 a month.
a little bit more than that, actually.
I'm sure.
I just read something that actually comports with my reality and others, that even though the labor statistics, or the Bureau of Statistics shows that it's $250 a week more per family, it's more like $350 because it's done by weight or something like that. And it might be a family of vegans that they're actually accounting for. But prices are up across the board 25 to 30%. But wait, we just feel that it's up, Margot. We don't.
Oh, I don't see it in my grocery bill at all.
No.
That's crazy.
No, not at your gas bill either. So we've had the best system since the late 1800s, and now all of a sudden, the Democrats don't have any confidence in the American economic system. It was plainly laid out today. She's going to the left of Bernie Sanders, I believe.
Well,
She's the loon. She's talking about basic income for everyone. She's talking about federalizing unions. I mean, this is just so crazy. I mean, she's talking about government controlling the market of food with a margin of 1.3%. I mean, Apple's like 30% margin, all right? 1.3%, regulating food and medicine. When you do that, you end up having a shortage of it and none of it, because no one's
She also says regulating houses, regulating rent.
Yeah.
At the federal level.
I mean, I don't know how you talk to people without your head on fire. I think we need to just chill for the weekend, because honestly, if I were to talk to someone who is, a nascent political observer, I would probably scare the hell out of them and maybe alienate them.
I think the challenge is, how do you talk to someone that is so steadfast into voting for that? Where do you begin you cannot have the financial discussion. They don't care. They just do not.
I mean, schools aren't teaching that now. So if you've got anyone probably under the age of 30, they're not going to understand really what capitalism is compared to a socialist economic system, even in Venezuela. They don't know.
But they still will only feed you a peanut butter sandwich if you forget your lunch money.
Okay. That references to what North Carolina does here. So let me play something else. This was kind of interesting too.
Basic principles, such as your salary should be enough to provide you and your family with a good quality of life. Such as no child should have to grow up in poverty.
No shit.
Such as after years of hard work, you should be able to retire with dignity. And you should be able to join a union if you choose.
So none of these mean anything. It just sets I think the pretext for federalizing every single thing, central planning, and she thinks that rising prices are the cause of inflation rather than a symptom.
No, when the truth of the matter is, rising prices or inflation is caused by overspending of the government. And most of that is contributed to the fact that we are giving money to other countries when we should be building our own infrastructure, and we shouldn't be spending the kind of money that we are.
Right. And when we talk about lowering food prices, what she's doing is she's trying. I mean, she was mean as hell too. The way that the vitriol that she had for food producers, farmers, by the way, you should be extraordinarily scared. And the vitriol she had for pharma. We have problems with big pharma. I get it. But I'm going to tell you something. You need penicillin, or you need an antibiotic. I mean, something like that. Like, right. You need it. The vitriol, it was bordering unbridled for business.
for me, what I clued in on is, the rhetoric is communist all the way around. I don't care what she says. But for me, I was keying in on the cadence of her voice to sound like Obama's. She's trying to take that cadence, we're going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know who I thought she sounded like? She sounded like Wanda Sykes. I'm going to put up Wanda Sykes right here. Hold on. Let me share my screen. That's what she sounded like to me. Remember her? Do you know her?
Yeah.
Wanda Sykes? Okay.
Total liberal.
Yeah. I mean, I love Wanda Sykes, but that's exactly who she was channeling. I guess all this is to say that she's not authentic.
No.
She's definitely not authentic. But anyway, she's going. I mean, when you want to lower food prices, fuel policy, that's the number one way to do it, because when you're making it exponentially more expensive to transport tractors to harvest food, to transport it once it gets there, etc. That's what I mean. You only have a margin of like roughly 1.3, maybe 1.7, 2.0 at the top. I mean, I know a lot about this grocery stuff. I have family in it. But the margins are so sensitive that when gas prices go up 30%, they have nowhere to go. They can't eat that price. They cannot do it, or they don't have a business, Margot. Like,
I understand.
She doesn't understand. Either she doesn't understand, or this is a deliberate and willful effort to transition us to socialism.
Yeah, it's hard with, like, we're 20 days away from an election. That means we're 18 days away from Trump being sentenced. I really feel like we're at the pivotal point with what she's saying and what's going on. We're Brazil. Right now, we're in the middle of Brazil with Bolsonaro. I really, truly feel that way. I don't mean to be panicky. If you looked at the countries and what's going on, it's very, very similar.
We did give a disclaimer that we're a little bit hyped tonight.
We are a little hyped.
Okay.
And I haven't had any coffee afternoon.
Well, I mean, I'm drinking Diet Pepsi like it's my job over here. So, so there is that. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack with this. I mean, this is, but Trump has got to make the case. He's got to stick on this. He's got to point this out instead of saying she's dumb, she's stupid. I mean, I couldn't agree more, by the way. Agreed.
I think we all agree with that.
Right. But it's beside the point. I can tell you a lot of these wealthy businesses, these corporations that have supported Kamala, I mean, they're in the driver's seat until they're not. In other words, when the government is picking winners and losers, even the most partisan CEOs realize that either they're in or they're out without a fair system with this system, because if Apple becomes their unfavored producer.
Well, and the other part of this is you're only favored till you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's going to get it. The Republicans are definitely going to get it first, and then they'll eat their own. Yeah,
it's sad. But anyway, yesterday, Trump had a major event. Again, he's making himself available for these 1.5, 2 hour jaunts. He was in Bedminster with the Jewish community, something near and dear to my heart and something important, talking about the dark vision of America. The problem with anti-Semitism, which it is, the problem with anti-Israel protests, which it is, going on. Obviously, Jews are canaries in the coal mine. We know what happens when a society becomes tolerant of, violence towards Jews.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that. I didn't get to watch the whole thing. I have a real job, so this is just, we do what we can. I did get to watch some of it, though, and I thought that he was very human for a change. And he gave his thoughts on a human level, not on a policy level, in my estimation. Now, you could feel differently about it, but I thought a lot of it was very human, contextual. I also thought that, I don't know if this was the same conference or not. Did he have pressers at this one?
Mm-hmm.
Because where the guy asked him if you believe in God and all that, and he said, absolutely, look what happened to me. I thought that was probably the most human response. Now, he still beat around the bush because that's the way he is, but it was a very human response from him.
Well, yeah, he had Miriam Adelson, Sheldon Adelson's wife.
Yeah.
He's one of the biggest donors, Jewish donor, but one of the biggest donors to his campaign. And, look, I mean, at the end of the day, Kamala's husband may talk about being Jewish. He doesn't have Jewish children, and he doesn't have Jewish grandchildren. Trump actually does. It's a fundamental difference. So when you talk about anti-Semitism and you had no skin in the game, I'm not suggesting that a person would be insincere by doing that, but it's totally different when you have people you care about who are impacted by that.
I totally feel that because my sister's Jewish and her children are Jewish and her husband's Jewish. And she wasn't raised Jewish, just so everybody knows. So for us, I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that. You know, you protect you're very protective of your family, regardless of whether they share the same religion as you.
You know, I was at a talk last night in Moore County, about an hour away from Raleigh at a place called Whispering Pines. And Dr. Carol Swain was talking about DEI. She's a venerable figure in the conservative movement, quite frankly. Tenured professor at Princeton, then went to become a tenured professor and retired from Vanderbilt. But I was in a room of about 100 people, probably most of them evangelicals. It was a Christian school. I was the only Jewish person there. And she talked extensively about the need to stop this anti-Semitism and the outrageous stuff that's going on, and got a standing ovation. But
I saw your pictures. They were great.
Yeah, I had a great time. Great event.
I'm not ignoring you. I'm trying to share our space. Next.
Yeah, absolutely. Great event. But it's really important that these things, we start giving Trump props for what he's done. So I want to add this to the stage. Let's talk about a candidate here for the appeals court. Ran across this guy today, Ed Eldridge. Wouldn't surprise you that he's a Democrat. Holding my daughter. The daughter looks about 3. At my law school graduation, I didn't know then just how much it would motivate my pursuit of justice when I saw her lose her right to make decisions about her own body. I couldn't sit on the sidelines. So let me get this straight. That your young daughter cannot have an abortion.
Abort your grandchildren.
12 years old. And you looked into him a little bit as well. He looks like a straight up pervert.
Well, and I have so many things to say about this guy. First of all, to use your kid as a prop for abortion, basically that's what he's doing. And not consider that's the same daughter that now if you believe this, you espouse this way, you're okay with her getting her face bashed in a boxing match, or you're okay with her being in a bathroom with a man. Like, I have so many things to say, but the prop of using your child and basically saying, kill my grandchildren, that's what I hear.
It's next level. I mean, it's next level. To say that as a judge, I mean, a lot of judges don't want to prejudice themselves. They don't want to prejudice themselves and say things like this.
Dark vision of America.
Okay. Sorry, I got this on here again. They don't want to prejudice themselves, say this kind of stuff. So let me tell you, he's running against Judge Valerie Zachary, who's actually on the appeals court. She's been on there for, I want to say 12 years, maybe more. But that's who you need to vote for in this. I know a lot about her. She was a Harvard alum and actually fought against anti-Semitism years ago while she was there. Okay, looking at Kamala's rally, very small, but I want to talk to you about this. This concerned me. I want to get your take on this. It looks like Democrats are really, really pouring a tremendous amount into operations here in North Carolina. What do you know about this?
Well, they're opening up a Kamala or a Harris Waltz in Western North Carolina, which is going to be funny because, I mean, they're going to have to do it in Asheville because nobody else is going to want it. I think what I am most thrilled about is they're doing this as a defensive move, not an offensive move, because the numbers show that we are moving toward a more Republican county by county increase. And they're not little increases either. They're huge.
Okay. Well, we're going to see that in a second. Hang on. Let me put this up here. You gave this to me to put up.
I did.
These are some of the numbers. Bladen County, 105%. These are rural areas. Okay. So when they talk about, oh, we're having a rural revival here in the Democrat Party, this is what they're talking about.
Yeah,
So
but look at that. Look at the numbers of increases. Now we know we're on track to take over before in 2025, but I think with the radical agenda that's taking place, we're seeing astronomical numbers that are gonna trend faster and further deeper, I should say, than we anticipated.
well, this is in July. This is after Kamala announced her coronation. So, you know, obviously I would love to have plus 10,000 for us, but it ain't bad. So we're doing a shortened show tonight. As we wrap up, here's what I want to show you. A lot of people, Margaret, I don't know if you're getting messages, but I'm getting actually at this event. A lot of people said, what do you think about the polls? What's going on? Here's what I think. Let's rewind. Let's get in our time capsule. Let's go back to August 12th, 2016. Okay. This is a CNN poll where Clinton led Trump, okay, in North Carolina, 48% to 39%. That was 11 points. And in Florida, also, now Florida, he won 2.5 points. Here he won 1.3. So that was inaccurate. Okay. Now let's go to September, later on in September, lead by 2. This is what the polls were saying. Now let's go to 2020. This is October 31st.
Mm-hmm.
Led by 6 points, and Cal Cunningham led Tillis by 10 points.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Before he got roasted with those allegations about
sleeping. That's after. That's after. That is a week.
Oh, really?
That is 2 months after.
Well, good to catch that one because I thought it was before.
Yeah, and this is where they had the Florida race, Margot. They had Biden at 50%, Trump at 48%. And that was eventually, I think, Trump won by almost 3 points, right? And in North Carolina, here's what they had, 51 to 47. This is a week before the elections. And we know now.
And literally it was the absolute converse of that.
Well,
not quite.
Yeah, it was, but Trump won 1.3.
Yeah.
But the point is, guys, is that, you know, on the one hand, polls are all we have. One of the best ways we had to give us an indication, but they're being used as complete agitprop.
Propaganda. Yep. Absolutely they are. And I think they're making people feel uncomfortable. But honestly, I think some of this is good for us, Sloan, because if the more they show the polls are in Kamala Harris's favor, I think the more you're going to see the one demographic that Ryan Gradesky, who's a pollster, has said we really have to bring out, and that is blue collar white males in rural areas who tend to not vote. His summation, which has been this election and in 2020, is if blue collar rural American males, white, would go to vote because they don't, we would win this hands down.
The forgotten man.
Correct. Absolutely. And he even takes it a step further and says those areas like Western Pennsylvania, where still country is, he talks about the very specific areas that Scott Presler has targeted. For those of you that don't know, Scott Presler is, I would call him an activist, but really he's a godsend. He literally has moved his life to Pennsylvania to turn that state red. And today he got notice that there are actually more Republicans registered in the state of Pennsylvania because of his efforts than there are Democrats. And his whole goal is to change Pennsylvania red so that it is not one of the swing states. But Scott Presler has, he's actually going after the demographic specifically that Ryan has talked about. And it was the same demographic he said we would have won with had they voted in 2020.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And in North Carolina, that's very important. We always talk about this is a rural area, and you're always going to hear the bull crap coming out of Anderson Clayton, who is the chairman.
Biggest liar.
There's so many.
She's the biggest liar.
So many.
Listen, my favorite thing about her is when they lose, she's the biggest loser.
Yeah. She's the loudest. Definitely got the biggest mouth. But she always talks about the Democrat Party being geared towards rural voters. What I can tell you, rural voters here in North Carolina, they work on farms, right? They work in food processing plants. They work in manufacturing. They work. So when the business owner goes out and says, listen, let me tell you how it is. The government wants to control our means of production, because that's what it is. They want to control prices, etc. Most people, look to the right, look to the left. The person to the right or the left, or both of them, will not be here after November 5th. That could really, because that's what's going to happen. We're a large manufacturing and farming state.
Well, we've already seen a decline in farms in North Carolina. And I think that's contributable to Roy Cooper and Josh Stein and the lack of protections that they put in place. And I honestly say
EPA crap from the hog farm bull crap. And
that slush fund.
They've done. Oh yeah. What they've done is they made sure that they draw them out. They get as many farmers as they can out and decrease the opportunity for new farmers to come in.
Yeah. Well, the good news is I think Steve Troxler's going to win again. And I have a feeling, I hope that Mark Robinson can pull it off. But even if he can't, Dan Bishop is going to pull it off for sure. And I think that there's some other benefits to Mark Robinson. I mean, there's a lot of scandal going on with him. Let's be honest with each other. We have to be very transparent. But here's what I want people to look past. We've only had 3 Republicans since 1901 as governor in the state. And the governor controls the election board, which is why our election boards, he controls not only the state election board, but every county is a majority of Democrats because they are the party of the governor. So if we can concentrate on election integrity, forget Mark Robinson and any scandal. If we can finally get in there, we can actually make true changes in election integrity, which North Carolina desperately needs. The voter rolls have not been cleaned since the early 90s.
And they're targeting our state.
Oh,
they're targeting our state hard. I mean, they're doing everything they can. And we know that election irregularities have happened right in front of our eyes. And
the fact that you have an exemption form for the voter ID, but that we waited 6 years for and put an amendment on. And then Josh Stein didn't help us. He hurt us. He took us to court on that. And then in the second that the judge said it stays, what does the election board do? The state election board. They make a form that basically says, don't bring your ID. We'll let you vote anyway.
Right. Right. Always workarounds, courtesy of Mark Elias and his gang of thugs. Eric Holder's buddy, Obama's crew, trying to make sure that they're able to, and I'm going to say it, steal elections. So we have to keep an eye on that. But again, look, we understand sometimes you're going to have to make choices that, no one's a perfect person is what we're saying. And you're going to have to go for the policies, and you're going to have to go for people that are willing to stand in the gap.
And you have to understand that everything they're saying is not true.
Oh.
But they're saying it because he's a lot like Trump. He's the easiest to persecute. We even know now that Josh Stein's wife, who's an attorney, works at the DHHS office and helped to investigate Mark Robinson. So whether or not that has any bearing, it's interesting timing.
Well, I mean, I don't think you should have your wife as an attorney general working in any government agency. I think that's already
seems like a big conflict to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a problem.
And then to be in the same department that's doing this investigation. And let's not forget, he's got his little Patsy over there, that Kinsey guy, whatever his name is. He's a little weirdo that is in charge of DHHS. I don't know. Every time I see that kid, I'm like, you're a kid and you just look like a freak.
He reminds me of the guy, remember from The Incredibles, the kid that was a villain?
Yes. Yes.
I hear he's a nice guy. For whatever it's worth, I hear he's a nice guy. I don't know. This isn't about being nice. It's about running our state.
Correct.
And if you've got, I'll admit I haven't read that story, Margot, but I do find, you ought to avoid having a family member working in a department and that department investigating your political opponent. I'm just saying.
I totally agree. I kind of can't believe she's even on the state payroll, truthfully. I didn't know that nepotism wasn't a thing in North Carolina. And I live here, so that's interesting.
Of all the places to work, honestly, why would she be working in the DHHS? Tell me that.
It's just crazy.
Of all the departments, right? Of all the departments, of all the employers, that does seem weird. But again, admittedly, I haven't read up on it. But we want you to see through the puffery and get to the real issues. You just brought one up, election integrity. We are going to have to cut this short. And again, we're wearing pink.
We are. And we didn't even coordinate it.
Yeah. And we're both a little peeved about Kamala's policy that she outlined. It's Friday night, so I encourage you to do your own research.
Don't do it drunk. Don't do it drunk.
Well, I want to tell you something. It will affect North Carolina uniquely, right? We talked about that on our space. We've got farming, we've got manufacturing, we've got pharma, the center of big pharma. We're going to be hit like a freight train. I mean, we know with all these energy policies, places like West Virginia and Pennsylvania were hit with the coal policy. We're going to be hit times 2.
Well, and there's another piece of it that she talked about that we really haven't talked about much in this conversation. And that is she talked about housing and how she wanted to regulate rentals.
Right. And just magically appear 3 million. Oh, by the way, she also said, we're going to give, me and you, we're going to give $25K to homeowners that they deem appropriate. And by the way, here's a question. Do any of these policies apply to illegals? The answer, we know the answer.
Because they don't apply to you and I. We're not first-time homeowners.
The answer will be yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
The answer will be yes. So we're paying for student loans. We're paying for homes. We're paying. Look, Joseph Stiglitz, who is the Marx, who won a Nobel Peace Prize for economics. The dude is Marx. This would embarrass him. I mean, this is insane.
I think one thing we need to just really clear up, it's not just new housing, rentals. She wants federal rent control. North Carolina on the coast of the mountains, tons of rentals.
And she wants to force us into labor unions also.
Correct. That's nuts.
Yeah. So rentals. I mean, you're right. Airbnbs. Huge business here. I mean, she's talking about killing so many businesses.
Oh, it's making me hot.
It's hard
mad. I'm just mad.
Dude, number 4 for me today.
Oh, that makes me mad.
It's been a day. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to chronicle all the effery, okay, she's going to do here in North Carolina. Because you're talking about another segment. Rentals. I mean,
federal rent control, meaning it. You know, we all know that since COVID happened, that rentals have gone up. They just have.
The illegals are coming in.
That's right.
But sorry, again, number 4. You want to control housing prices, make it cheaper to build the house. It all starts with energy, right?
Right. Well, and I also think the other part that drives housing down is make more jobs available. You know, if there's more jobs, housing goes down. But what happens right now in North Carolina is we have a workforce housing shortage. And at the same time, it's a vicious circle, especially here in Western North Carolina. We aren't bringing enough industry in to be able to drive that housing market back. So it just becomes a vicious circle. And what really
goes in.
Well, and on top of that, what really sets it off is people from Florida who don't want to live there anymore because they don't like DeSantis or whatever. It's cheaper to live here. It's the cost of living is cheaper. So they come and they will pay because housing in Florida is more expensive. They can buy a bargain home in their eyes here. So there's a vicious circle of how the world works.
Well, that circle is not an inherent problem if we have things like cost of goods lower, cost of transport lower. Right. The cost to build this, less regulation. If we had that, we'd have more supply.
Correct.
The reason why the supply is choked off, right? Because look, what happens here in Cary, other places as well. Cary is by no means unique, but Durham as well. They'll take a building that was privately owned, right? And then they will turn that either into giving credits or forcing an owner in a lot of ways to make that available for illegals. True story. And they get paid more for doing that. So you're choking off the supply of a $200,000 unit that would be used for a first-time family, a buyer, or whatever, and you're having the government pay for that. They're taking a lot of inventory out of the market.
Yeah. Well, and they're also making demands on people that want to build neighborhoods in places like suburbia. You cannot just build a single family home unit anymore in certain areas like where I live. They're requiring us to do multi-dwelling units. That's part of the process with HUD right now. If you want any federal money to be able to get workforce housing, you have to build specific, spec housing the way they want it. And they do not want single family homes that do not touch. You must have apartments, basically.
Right. And in those, you must have some Section 8.
Correct.
I mean, yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot to talk through.
Well, happy Friday to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're kicking it off here. But our coverage of politics is going to get more intense because we've got 20 days leading up. I want to tell you that we've hit the 5,000 mark on views on 2 of our clips from early this week. That would not happen without you guys sharing, watching, sharing. It's been shared at a network at least 500 times, one of these clips, in a little article and write-up we do. Because it's amazing.
It's amazing. Totally amazing. And there's so much more to go over. I'm going to start doing a little segments on what's going on in elections in local areas because they need to be called out. We really know where the issues are and we know what we need to do to fix them. And some of it is just, you have to get rid of people. They have to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, there's no question, especially when you look at 78% increase in murder in Raleigh. That came out this week. 78. Somebody needs to get out. Some of these elections are about life or death. This is not hyperbole. This is just basic business brass tacks. It is what it is. And we're going to preview that. So guys, have a wonderful night. Have a safe weekend. We'll see you again on Tuesday.
But before you go, get on the space. We're going to do a space on X in just a minute.
We already had that space, remember?
Oh.
It's 8:45 now.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Is there another space though?
Pardon me?
There's another space. Go look.
You know what? The other space that's coming up is on Monday. Donald Trump is going to be on X again with Elon. I think it's at 8:00 with Dan Scavino. So that's the other space that's coming up that you need to be aware of.
It's kind of like gathering around the radio back in the days of yore. Yeah. Remember when they didn't have to? I don't remember. You don't. I'm just saying. We see it in the Norman Rockwell photos, right? Of the family gathering around the radio where it's got the knobs and stuff,
I do know. Although we really did that in Germany because we didn't watch German television. We listened to American radio.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So we're getting back into the spoken word, and the mind processes the spoken word cognitively deeper. I don't know if you knew that. I want to bring out some research on that maybe. And maybe I'll do that Tuesday, bring out research on how we cognitively process just the voice and the word only.
All right. You bring that. And I'm going to bring you guys a story about Montgomery County and what is going on with the Board of Elections director there, because it's pretty hot tea.
Well, it is hot tea. And thanks to you, it didn't get boiling for them, but it will on Tuesday night. I promise you. So we'll see you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.